mean, I think it's a huge thing, but would have been nice. Yeah, we did. No, we did. Yeah. No, when I read that, I was like, yeah, whatever. But we can yell at her about it.
Okay.
How you doing, Stevie?
Yeah.
So he's not coming. Okay, I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order and ask you to silence your cell phone if you haven't already. And also stand and join me for the pledge. Actually, that's out of order. Let's start with our, Doug, will you do the invocation for us tonight?
Heavenly Father God, we come to you, Lord, we ask you to be with this group tonight, Lord, that they make decisions that are honoring to you and the benefit of our city. God, we ask that you be with these people as they go home tonight and keep them safe. Above all, God, we just thank you for loving us and being our God. Amen.
Amen. Now let's do the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's go through our agenda. First thing we'd like to say tonight is to make an announcement on the website. We have gone live tonight, so everybody's in here, you're live streaming online. So I want to say about a year ago, we finally found the company, maybe about 8 or 9 months ago, we finally found the company that we wanted to go with. We had originally wanted to go live with these meetings, and we thought might be something like Facebook or just taking a video, and it turned into, instead of buying an apple, we got a whole orchard, which is going to be phenomenal for both the city secretary and the council. When you get home tonight, take a look at it. You'll be able to see that you'll have the agenda next to the meeting. At every item on the agenda will be a video link. You can click on that and it'll take you straight to that part of the meeting. In time to come, we'll be using this particular software for all of the meeting paperwork. Sandy's been training on it for a couple times a month for the last 6 or 7 months. So it's a Cadillac process, but it's going to be fantastic for the city of Bowie. So tell all your constituents how to get to it and how to use it, and check it out yourself. Next, we'll ask Birchboro City Manager's report.
Just have a couple of things. About a year ago, I contacted the USDA along with a lot of other organizations about our flood damage along the Brushy Creek tributary that runs through town. You all know about the damage. It's just been sitting there. Anyway, when the USDA came, they inspected the damage, and along the way they told me to write a letter to the state conservationist about our problem. And so I wrote a letter for the mayor's signature, and lo and behold, the mayor got an email from NRCS division of the USDA on the 29th, almost a year later. The letter was to confirm the exact dollar amount of an EWP program grant, which means Emergency Watershed Protection Program. The approved funding for the subject damage assessments is $416,272.50, which is the NRCS portion of it. Our portion of that amount will be $138,757.50. The problem with the grant is we can only use the money for certain things, which would include riprap along the channel, street paving, probably new drop boxes for stormwater, but it cannot be used to rebuild the bridges on Mill, Nelson, Lamb Rock, or Miller Street. I've talked with a person at USDA and they gave very limited details, but we should begin to get more details before October. I'm still trying to get grant money for the bridges through the hazard mitigation program. We've reviewed the hazard mitigation request for the consultants, and they should turn over the reports to the state fairly soon. Now for the bad news. Back in April, we had an inspection from TCEQ on the old Bowie Lake Dam, of which we do not do anything other than own. And we received a report from TCEQ last week about the inspection. The dam was found to be in poor condition and in need of excessive maintenance and repair. If you'll recall, last fall, we trimmed all the timber off of that dam, thinking that that was everything that on the anticipated completion date for the emergency action plan and a date providing for a hydrologic and hydraulic study, which are both required. I think we are looking at long-term repairs, nothing that has to be done immediately, and I will prepare the action plan and submit it before October the 10th. All of this has to be done under the guidance of an engineer. I've sent our guys from the water department out to the lake to take the inspection paperwork and go over what the TCEQ cited in the paperwork, stake it so that we can kind of figure out what we need to do to repair the thing. So at any rate, that's going to cost us some money. We just don't know what. Yeah.
That's it. Any questions for Bert?
Haven't we done this before about there's been some other, when Ricky was here, there was some stuff come up about the old Bowie Lake.
No. Old Bowie Lake has not been inspected since 1970. TCEQ reviewed some things about it in '85. And the only reason I knew about that, there was nothing in our records about it, but they reviewed some stuff in '85 and passed it on. Now, the reason this dam inspection came forward is the legislature passed a bill about dam safety. And I went to a seminar in Decatur about 2 or 3 months ago about dam safety, and they were talking about that there's a lot of pressure from the state to start looking at that kind of thing. I was more worried about Amy Carter than the old Bowie Lake, because I kind of thought that Amy Carter would be much more damaging if you had dam failure or something like that. But at any rate, we're looking at doing some work out there. And based on their conversation, I don't think, they're just looking for a plan of action for me, not we've got to do it today or tomorrow or whatever.
So you're positive that we have never heard this about that dam before?
I don't know what Ricky had done in the
Yeah, there
past.
was-
I can't tell you that.
There was something that come up about this before.
Yeah,
This
but
is not
when
our
I-
first.
When I came
rodeo.
on the job, that was one of the real pressing problems we had, was all the timber. There was a tremendous amount of timber, and we took the timber down last fall. So,
I thought the dam was leaking or something back when I remember.
could be, I don't know.
It was leaking, and there was a big, because it was gonna cost us, I thought they said like $2 million back then.
It is
there was
in
a-
our, speaking of the
amount.
mitigation plan, it is in our mitigation plan. It's one of the 10 items we put in the mitigation plan to repair that. And I think Doug, do you recall the number we used? 2 or 3 million, something like that?
I don't remember saying.
No, but it was something like that we put in for the mitigation plan, so.
I don't think this is our first rodeo with this, because I'm pretty sure, Ricky, there was a big, because
Well,
of
somebody
the
may
amount
have-
of money.
Yeah, somebody may have observed it and told us about it, and that I didn't know about. Because TCEQ does not have any records previous to '85, or after '85.
Well, there's some documentation somewhere on it when Ricky was here, because it has came to council before.
Do you know anything about the documentation? Can you find something?
I don't know about that.
Okay, well, it's somewhere.
Anyway, and it's not just our problem, and I've got to contact the county, because the road going across the dam is a county road, and so I'm gonna approach the county about,
That may be in what it was they was gonna maybe shut down the road. They were gonna think about shutting
now,
down the road.
somebody did mention that, that I was talking to, that there was something about closing that road. And,
Wasn't there some pushback from the residents though? I think
Well, I'm
somebody
sure
told us
there's
there
gonna
was
be
some
some
pushback from the
pushback. I mean,
residents.
that's their way out and in without going all the way around.
well, it's really not that far, on the, I guess you could say the east end of the dam, there are residences there, and on the west side of the lake, they can go over and hit the farm to market road. They don't have to go down the country road, so I would think it wouldn't be that big of a deal to close it, but.
Well, not for us, but I'm sure for the ones living there,
Yeah.
it would create problems.
Well, just keep this in mind that this is something we're probably gonna have to come back to, is find some way to pay for it.
You may want to look into that and see what, because there was something.
Yeah, I'll be talking with the county anyway, so.
Okay, any other questions? Not, we'll move on. Okay, so we're going to close this meeting and open the public hearing for the 2019 tax rate at, what time do you have? 6:10. So, in opening for a public hearing, I'll ask for any public comments. The public hearing is to inform the public on the proposed tax rate of .05445 per $100 in property value. This increase in the rate is about 3.71% over last year. The meeting in which the tax rate will be adopted will be the September 23rd City Council meeting at 6 p.m. here in the Chamber of Councils.
Did I see where the school did not raise their tax rate?
Anybody know?
The state compressed their maintenance and operation from $1.40 back into the state.
Did the school raise theirs? They did not.
It
because
came
of-
down, but because of the change.
Okay, I just thought I read that.
In the counties, it's still 55 cents, but it's still going up because of the tax.
That, yes.
But the rates,
Thank you, Barbara.
oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, thank you.
I read it.
Somebody's on top of it. Any comments? Council? Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing. 6 what? 6:12. I'll open the floor to public comments regarding any matter. Do I have anybody that wants to talk at the podium? Going once? Okay, we're out. We're going on to the next item. Item number 8, consent agenda approval items. So you have your minutes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting, August 26, 2019.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. Bell?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Dyke-Master? Aye. Malone?
Aye.
Kent?
Aye.
Bishop? All right, let's move on to the North Texas mitigation plan update. That's back to you.
I visited with the county judge this week about the mitigation plan. It seemed that Bowie and Oconee had not reviewed their plan, even though when I went to the website to check it, it said that it had been reviewed. But anyway, so Friday afternoon, Doug and I and Jay sat in my office and we did the review and made some comments about it and whatnot and turned it in. And anyway, as soon as Oconee does theirs, they'll turn the paperwork over to the state or the consulting firm and get it rolling a little quicker. So.
Any questions? All right, let's move on to item number 2, Second reading of ordinance 2019-08. An ordinance adopting an annual budget for the City of Bowie for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019 and ending September 30th, 2020. Adopting a reference document as said budget and establishing appropriations for the various activities and functions of the city, establishing an effective date, and repealing all ordinances and regulations in conflict with. So I'll entertain a motion to accept this ordinance.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Mr. Kent?
I actually have a question.
Okay.
Are the amendments in this now?
Carrie?
No.
No, but they shouldn't
The
be.
amendments that were made, are
They're
they
in
in
the
this current?
projections, yeah, I mean, they're in the projections, but they're not in the.
Are they in this order?
So the ordinance is for the new budget, and it has the last year's budget in there as it was accepted and in the projections. And so the amendments that are on the agenda later, I mean, no, they're not.
I just feel that we need to approve the amendments prior to approving of the budget.
Are you talking about the amendments that are in your
Right.
packet?
The budget
Those are the
amendment
amendments for this year's budget.
for
Okay,
20.
not the budget.
Not the budget we're going to.
Okay.
Okay.
Then aye.
Then aye, okay. Bishop? No. Bell?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Buckmaster? No. Malone?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We have an approved budget, 2019-2020. Okay, next item on the budget is the Atmos thing. So let me read the second reading of ordinance 2019-09. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bowie, Texas, approving a negotiated settlement between the Atmos Cities Steering Committee, the ASCS, and Atmos Energy Corp. Mid-Tex Division regarding the company's 2019 rate review mechanism filing, declaring existing rates to be unreasonable and adopting tariffs that reflect the rate adjustments consistent with the negotiated settlement. Finding the rates to be set by the attached settlement, tariffs to be just and reasonable and in the public interest. Approving an attached exhibit establishing a benchmark for pensions and retiree medical benefits. Approving an attached exhibit regarding amortization of regulatory liability, requiring the company to reimburse ACSC's reasonable rate-making expenses. Determining that the ordinance was passed in accordance with the requirements of the Texas Open Meeting Act, adopting a savings clause, declaring an effective date, and requiring delivery of this ordinance to the company and the ACSC's legal counsel. Randy went over this with you at the last meeting. So at this point, we're looking for an approval for the ordinance.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. Do I have a second?
I'll
I
second.
mean Malone, excuse me, I'm sorry, Malone. Mr. Bell, you'll second it?
Yes.
Malone?
Aye.
Buckmaster? Aye. Love?
Aye.
Bell?
Aye.
Bishop? And Kent?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, let's roll over to new business. A resolution nominating the Montague County Appraisal Board candidate. A resolution nominating the Montague County Appraisal Board candidate, whereas the City of Bowie is a voting member of the Montague County Appraisal District Board, and whereas the City of Bowie, being a taxing unit, is entitled to nominate by resolution a candidate for the position to be filled. Now therefore let it be known that the Bowie City Council, governing body of the City of Bowie, Texas, nominates Randy West, and that this information should be transmitted to Kim Harrelson, Chief Appraiser of Montague County, Texas. Do I have a motion to approve?
I guess the state, I have no problem with the nominee at all. In fact, I would probably have chosen it myself. I do have a problem, however, with the process. I think that in the future, that if there's a board opening, it needs to be publicized. We need to take resumes and we need to discuss before we have a document that says that we chose him. and
How did we
discuss it.
choose him?
How do we pick
How-
them?
how did-
Typically in the past, the city manager just named somebody to serve. When I did it, Cat would call me, then Cat would call me and ask me if I'd serve. When I resigned from the appraisal district board, they asked me who would be good. And the first time was a temporary nomination. He wasn't voted on because they needed to fill my slot. And I asked Randy if he would do it, and he said, yeah.
But this says the council approved.
Yeah, and they called and asked me, and I said, Randy would be an ideal person because he's been on the board for the last year, so.
Well, I'm about like Tom. I mean, I have no problem with Brandy, but I do have a problem that it says this council has approved it when we.
Well, you haven't approved it yet, but
Well,
if you were to
I
agree
didn't
to this,
see
then you'd
anyone
be
else's name
approval.
on here.
I know,
that
that's
we
what I'm
would-
saying. You haven't approved it yet, but if you don't want this person, then
No.
they will replace it
Well,
with
it's not
whomever you
about that
nominate.
person.
No, it's more
About the
about the
process.
procedure.
Well, the process that we did tonight was a process that had been done in the past. So if you want that process changed, that's easy enough to do. We can make that in the future.
Right.
This process was just a continuation of how it's been done from the city office. for
But
years.
is it just for this committee that it was done in that?
Yes. I mean, this is the
Procedure.
only one you've been called and asked.
Yeah.
All the other boards have their own nominating. This board does not nominate somebody, they ask the city to. And I guess in the past, every time the
Well,
city
how's our
manager
charter or
has
whatever
been.
read that says that however nominate for the committees? What does that read?
We only cover our committees.
This is
In our
not a
charter. This is
city-
not our committee.
This is not a city board, this is the Montague County Appraisal District Board. This board does not do anything other than operate the appraisal district, the business side of it. Okays all financial matters and things of that nature, and make sure that the board operates in a legal matter, but the board doesn't have anything to do with the tax.
And I agree with Thomas. I think that's a good idea. I mean, Randy is a good fit for the job, but I think we need to have some more discussion on board members all
Well,
in
again,
general.
this is not our board.
Right, I understand, but I think we
Well,
should.
it doesn't matter if it's our board or not. It just says in
Well,
here.
Yeah, 'cause we're-
Document
it's-
says that we as
The reason I said it's
city
not
council-
our board is just to let you know, we don't have a policy in place for this.
Right.
So if that is the direction you want to go, do you want to stop this tonight?
No,
And
no.
build a policy?
No.
Or do you want a policy built between now and the next time they ask for one?
I'm fine with the nominee, it's just the document that says, let it be known that this Bowie City Council, which is us, nominated him, and this is the first time I've seen his name as a nominee. I just, if it was Charles Manson on here, I'd be upset.
We wouldn't pass it.
I think you do a good
Well, no, right, but I'm saying, it says that we.
Then
put
we need
him
to have
up,
a
and we
specific
didn't-
policy that defines nothing but how a candidate is nominated for the Montague County Appraisal Board
I
Committee.
just can't believe there's not a policy in place that says the way.
There never has been. Sandy?
Right. No, it's just always been
We
the
need to
city
look at it.
manager who's nominated somebody.
I make
If
a
it
motion that
wasn't
we
worded
approve.
in that wording, that's about like the raises for the trash companies, it comes to vote, but if you vote no, because I was on the council, we voted no, but they still got the raise, because in the contract it says they get the raise, but we had to vote, so our vote wasn't really our vote. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Well,
You voted against
That's
raising.
not on the- that's not on the
yes,
agenda.
that was not on the agenda, but it's the same. It was something that come to council, but we couldn't vote the way we wanted to vote. This says we nominated him. We didn't nominate him. But we're voting on him. And I have no problem with him. It's not the process.
Is this resolution written exactly like they've all been written in the past? So we changed nothing on the process? All right, so nothing has been changed. If you would like a policy written, then that's a policy that needs to come before you at a later time. But tonight, we need to
Right.
determine what we're going to do about this.
I make a motion that we approve this.
I second.
This resolution.
And ask that we get it on the agenda to adjust the procedure.
To get a policy.
Yes.
We can do that.
I second.
Okay, we have Mr. Kent has made the motion to approve. Mr. Malone
Yeah, I think
seconds
you're
it.
right. Yeah.
Mr. Bell?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Buckmaster?
Aye.
Malone?
Aye.
Bishop? And Kent? Thank you.
So you will know, this won't come up again for 2 years.
Okay, well,
That's-
I mean, I
that's
just
what
think it
the-
needs to be,
That's what.
or maybe it needs to be
started.
worded a little different in here.
All right, so let's go to next item. Next item is ordinance 2019-10, an ordinance amending Chapter 9 subdivisions, Article 9.100 subdivision ordinance adopted Section 3.03, submission of plan of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Bowie, Texas, providing a saving clause, a repealer clause, and providing an effective date. This is what David brought to you at the last meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Y'all want to fight over it?
No, just go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Mr.
Lance.
Love, seconds. Malone?
Aye.
Buckmaster?
No.
No?
No.
Love?
Aye.
Bell?
Aye.
Bishop? And Kent?
Aye.
5-1 there. All right, this next one is an ordinance levying an annual ad valorem tax for the City of Bowie, Texas for the tax year 2019. I need a motion to approve the tax rate.
So moved.
Oh, wait, it's got to be an exact reading. You want to read the?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that the property tax rate be increased by the rate of 0.5445, which is a 3.71% raise. Increase, I'm sorry. Increase. I'm saying it right here. It says raise right here on this on the ordinance. Well, it's going by the ordinance. 3.7%, 3.71% increase.
Okay, Mr. Love makes a motion to approve the new tax rate. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. Buckmaster?
No.
Bishop?
No.
Kent?
Aye.
Bell?
Aye.
Malone?
Aye.
And Love?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the first reading? That's the first reading. This is the last reading.
No, this is the first reading. This is our
Oh,
amendment.
this is amendments. All right, so the last one does cover the amendments for the 18-19 budget. So an ordinance amending the adopted, start over. Let's go with ordinance 2019-12. An ordinance amending the adopted municipal budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 for specified funds. Account and line item designations, declaring all other appropriations of the budget document unchanged, instructing the city manager to make the necessary revisions to the city's accounting records, declaring a severability clause, and providing an effective date. So I would entertain a motion to accept the amendments.
What the library do? Is it, what was that about the library?
They got several different grants. She gets quite a few grants throughout the year. Sometimes if they're small grants, we don't have to worry about amending it, but, since she got so many this year.
In the sanitation, is that from picking up the outside?
Yeah, which is covered by the revenue on the other side.
Say it again.
Which is covered by the revenue on the other side. It's just for the difference in what we were expecting versus what actually happened once we got everybody on the outside of it.
So do we actually make a profit on the sanitation?
We get, 9% is what we make off of it. We make the franchise fee, which is 7%, and then 2% for the building costs.
And we make, and I don't remember exactly how much it is, but for all the tonnage of garbage that is hauled out of
And then
here.
the stuff that runs to the transfer
Yeah.
It was around $7,500 a month, but I think since their increase, it's more than that now.
Yeah.
Their traffic increase and what they're taking through there. This also includes the dollar that we added for the bulky trash pickup, so that added $1 every month. So this is more about revenue than expenses. So do I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. Mr. Love?
Aye.
Mr. Bell?
Aye.
Bishop?
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Kent?
Aye.
Malone?
Yeah, that's what I was
And
saying.
Buckmaster? Aye. Thank you, that's 5-1, and that is the last item on our agenda, so we will adjourn at 6:30 straight up. Thank you.
I was looking at that crowd back there.